I've had a bit of a challenging week in the theatre, partly because I deliberately set out to see two contemporary plays. That's The December Man by Canadian playwright Colleen Murphy at the Finborough and Winterlong by Andrew Sheridan at the Soho Theatre. On top of that, I spent 3 hours at the Haymarket watching Trevor Nunn's revival of Terence Rattigan's Flare Path. I'll start with Flare Path, which stars Sienna Miller, James Purfoy and Sheridan Smith. It was written and first performed in 1942 and is set then in the Second World War. It seems to come complete with the stereotypes we expect. Stiff upper lip RAF pilots, a tall, dark, handsome film star, a curmudgeonly landlady, a comedy foreigner, and a squadron leader nicknamed Gloria. Rattigan writes two splendid parts for the RAF wives. Patricia, the actress who long ago gave her heart to James Purfoy's Peter Kyle, and Doris, a former barmaid who's married a Polish aristocrat. Here's a production which I really think I would have enjoyed a great deal more from one of the nice stall seats that the reviewers are likely to occupy, but my meagre purse could only stretch to the upper circle seats, which creak. The audience were much younger than you'd expect for this sort of show, I'm sure because of Sheridan Smith's incredible, well-earned popular appeal, not to mention Sienna's fame. I think it's worth mentioning the experience from the cheap seats, because for many people this could be their first experience of a wordy 3-act period piece, and it is a marathon. The set, by Stephen Brimson Lewis, is beautifully detailed. It's the same set all evening, and it looks as solid as a genuine hotel lobby. So they ought to fix the front door, which swung open inappropriately and distractingly a couple of times, but this was a preview, so I'm sure they have by now. The spontaneously opening door is particularly worrying, as it further stretches your credulity that Peter and Patricia would carry on their post-Hollywood affair in a public lounge accessible from at least 5 angles and overlooked by a staircase, with a cast of 14 ready to butt in at any moment. Looking down from the cheap seats on Sienna Miller is curiously similar to looking down on Keira Knightley in The Children's Hour, because they both are unbelievably slim, and while a slightly gawky, flat-chested, round-shouldered look suits Keira Knightley's frumpy schoolmarm character, you'd like to see Miller's 1940s glamour girl looking less waif-like. She's suitably well-spoken and emotive. Sheridan Smith brings the same generous vivacity to Doris that she brought to Elle Woods in Legally Blonde. She's beautifully cast in this tragic comic role, and she makes the very most of it. The show is worth seeing for her performance alone, and her interaction with James Purfoy when she's a star-struck fan, and later when she asks a special favour of him, is touching and brilliantly judged. I'd be carping to say that I just missed a few words with my middle-aged ears from my rubbish seats because of her slightly shrill pitching. The cast are consistently good, and Trevor Nunn comes into his own when they're all on stage, the finale being beautifully staged and satisfying. The evening is far from a bundle of laughs, but it is engaging if you're in a good seat and you can stay with it. As Patricia's trusting husband, Harry Haddon Payton, proves that post-traumatic stress is no modern phenomenon. Clive Wood is very good, and Emma Hanley and Joe Armstrong make a well-observed married couple. Also, without giving too much away, I can mention the projections by Jack James, which are stunning. Colleen Murphy, the Canadian writer of The December Man, has been quoted as saying, "If we can imagine a horrific thing happening to ourselves or somebody we love, we understand how other people feel. It's the road to real compassion. The more we can feel these things, the better." Well, that's not my philosophy, so it was with some trepidation that I approached this play about the aftermath of an actual college shooting massacre in Montreal in 1989. I was relieved that the play didn't focus on the gunman himself, as I'm very uncomfortable about fascination with such people. We do learn some detail of the attack which caused particular shock, because men were allowed to flee the scene, leaving the women only as the victims. Michael Bentz gives a superbly convincing performance as one of these male survivors, racked with guilt and anxiety, which we learn very early on in the play is fatal to his family. Linda Broughton and Matthew Hendrickson have well-written roles as his parents, and they act beautifully. Lavinia Holland directs. I thought this play would be the most harrowing viewing of the week, but nothing could prepare me for Andrew Sheridan's Winterlong at the Soho Theatre. This play won the prestigious Bruntwood Prize for New Plays and comes direct from the Royal Exchange, Manchester. In an excellent performance, Harry McIntyre ages convincingly from a very young boy to a teenager. Rebecca Callard plays his mother, Lawrence Mitchell his even more disturbed father, and Paul Copley and Gabrielle Reedy his grandparents. Amanda Stoodley's design is suitably suffocating and very imaginative, but I wasn't very convinced by the direction. They play a high-frequency noise, like someone's fingers circling the rim of a glass to the waiting audience, and it irritated me very much indeed. I had to start doing deep breathing exercises to overcome the feeling that a dentist drill was next to my ear. It set the tone for the whole play, which I'm afraid I really didn't like at all. It seems to be gratuitously brutal and sickening, with the female characters underwritten to the point of misogyny. A low point of this cringe-inducing show came when the grandma, out of character I thought, uttered the overused, laugh so much that a little bit of wee came out cliché. Not something anyone in the audience were in danger of doing, although the stench of wee could not have made this play any harder to endure. Which remind me, I noticed today that the upcoming tour of the adaptation of David Walliams' book, Mr. Stink, promises to be a scratch and sniff musical production. Now that sounds like the kind of new writing I will enjoy.